Hello, I'm Ray. Let's keep it short this time around, as you might have already heard for more than 1,000 times across YouTube and other review videos. The iPhone 8 Plus does look dated and boring. It shares the exact same design language as the iPhone 7 Plus, while Apple ditched the aluminium unibody design, replaced with a glass back, with all the new colors, the rose gold, which isn't that gold at all, and the silver variant here, which is in fact white. Yep, the iPhone X's coming, the future is here. But here's the top 3 main reasons that I think people would rather get an iPhone 8 Plus instead of an iPhone X. First of all, $1,000 for a phone. That's ridiculous. Or maybe you want the absolute largest usable 16:9 display area on your next iPhone. Yep, 5.8 inches sounds and looks larger than 5.5 inches. But if we put the iPhone 8 Plus next to the Note 8, you will notice that 16:9 content on that massive 6.3 inches display is barely wider and taller than a conventional 5.5 inches display. And finally, you simply don't want to risk your £1,000 or dollars on a phone which doesn't have Touch ID, I mean a fingerprint sensor at the right spot. The good news is Qi wireless charging. It works with my Samsung charging pad. Water and dust resistance also there, but the Note 8's got a higher IP68 rating compared to IP67 on the iPhone 8, while Android Pay and Apple Pay comes neck and neck. But that's a big but. The Note 8 comes with a headphone jack, with tons of audio output settings, and also a microSD card slot. At the end of the day, in terms of design, there's actually not much of a contest here. If you prefer a more stylish design and that Infinity Edge display, get the Note 8. But don't get me wrong, the iPhone 8 Plus is incredibly well built. Now you're right, Android phones been dominating my daily drivers list, but I do appreciate how simple, user-friendly, elegant and most importantly silky smooth iOS is. It's now better than ever, with the all-new control panel, which is 3D touchable. And finally Apple's added screen recording on iOS 11. It's not only recording what you're seeing from your screen, but also what you're hearing from your earphones. But Apple's definitely got some catch-up work to do in terms of features that lift productivity well on the go. Android, especially Samsung's quite a few miles ahead in this particular area. Multi-window on and tall 18.5:9 screens just ideal. The S Pen's also better than ever. It's definitely a revolutionary way to use our smartphones. Feel free to watch my full review to learn more. GIF recording's another handy feature that I missed every time when I switched to a non-Samsung phone. It simply makes content sharing across different platforms a lot easier, like sharing a video on Facebook to a friend on WhatsApp. Scroll capture also makes our information sharing experience a lot more convenient. Imagine you saw a really long but fascinating post on Facebook, or you wanted to capture your chat history. You can now do that on one go. The Note 8's designed to make your life easier, instead of just getting the job done. Speaking of getting the job done, let's check out their performance. During day-to-day navigation, there's actually not much of a difference. Both the Exynos 8895 or the Snapdragon 835 and the mighty A11 Bionic for sure handles light tasks like nothing. But those random stuttering's not a problem at all on the iPhone, and photos loading time's not even a thing on the iPhone. All photos are like ready for upload, like even before you've clicked that photo uploading button. And if you're a huge mobile gamer, pick up the iPhone 8 Plus, without a doubt. Thanks to the better optimized operating system and dual-core i5 MacBook Pro class processing power, the iPhone 8 Plus cuts half of the loading time for literally all modern 3D titles, compared to the Note 8. It took just around 7 seconds to load Perfect Angle on the iPhone, but took the Note 8 nearly 14 seconds to load. And not only does it load the game faster, but also in-game actions, like every time when I wanted to start a race in Gear Club, one of the best racing games out there with next-gen graphics. The iPhone gives me that sort of instant feeling while loading the race. The Note 8's again struggling. Still, those are probably my very own personal subjective experience. The iPhone 8 Plus, however, continues to shine in our custom speed test, that we fire up the same list of apps on all tested devices. Again, it launched all those large 3D games way faster than any other Android phones. But if we take a look at the result carefully enough, we'll find the iPhone 7 Plus actually performed exactly the same, the difference well below the margin of error. Well, as we've expected, despite the relatively small amount, 3 gigs of RAM, the iPhone 8 Plus kept all the running apps in background in the second round. Still, it performed nearly identical to the iPhone 7 Plus. That said, we won't be able to tell the difference in performance if we just chat with our friends on Facebook, WhatsApp. The question is the whole A11 Bionic processor thing a gimmick rather than a true technological breakthrough? Nope, thanks to this mighty processor, we've got 60 frames per second 4K video recording capability on a smartphone, while 240 FPS slow-motion videos are now crystal clear at 1080p. With the advanced processing power, 4K 60 frames per second video editing can also be done while on the go, right on our fingertips. That's insane. It does take some time to export those Ultra HD videos, but keep in mind that not every single computer can handle even 4K 30 frames per second video editing. The A11 chip's simply mind-blowing. In the end, if you prefer smoothness and speed, go for the iPhone. On the contrary, get the Note 8 if you need those handy features. This is it, the battle of the year until the iPhone X comes out. Again, dual camera's been the new trend since the iPhone 7 Plus come out, and today we'll be comparing the image quality on their main cameras, the portrait or bokeh mode, image quality on the telelens for sure, front camera, and last but not least, video quality, from daytime to low light. Apple's got a really great reputation on giving accurate colors in all lighting conditions, and this is true even in such an extreme scenario. The Note 8 tried to balance out the greenish tint behind the glass wall. The outside world does look more promising and vibrant, but the truth is, the rest of the image is ridiculously reddish and oversaturated. The coming few shots further confirm that the Note 8 tends to over-exaggerate colors with a slightly reddish tint. The iPhone 8 Plus certainly takes the crown during daytime, under broad daylight, with more accurate white balance and on-point color saturation. The iPhone 8 Plus has also proven its advantages in capturing scenes with high dynamic range. Again, the white balance on point on the iPhone 8 Plus. And if we zoom into those clouds, you'll see the shot taken with the iPhone's got a lot more depth and texture to it. The shot taken with the Note 8 seems to be relatively flatter and is a bit dull. But as the sun goes, the Note 8 started to overtake the iPhone in terms of details and sharpness. Still, both of them takes incredibly crisp and clear, vibrant images during daytime, while the iPhone stays true to the actual environment, and the Note 8 tends to make it even more beautiful than it is. It truly depends on your personal preference. We'll come back to the main camera and test out their low-light performance in a minute. Before that, it's time to find out which dual camera system gives better bokeh effect. On the Note 8, we can modify the level of blur-out effect on the background before and after we take a shot, and it also automatically saves both the original untouched wide-angle photo as a backup, and of course the one with bokeh effect. It is indeed Samsung's first attempt to dual camera system, but it works surprisingly well. On the iPhone, however, we've got literally no control over the bokeh effect, but this time around we've got the new portrait lighting options which can be selected before or even after we've taken a shot. Image quality is also a noticeable step up from its predecessor. Anyway, start off with a relatively casual and less challenging scenes. Other than color saturation and white balance, there's not much of a difference. Both of them separated the main object from the background accurately, with no halo effect whatsoever. But thanks to dual OIS technology on the Note 8, low-light shots are way crisper and sharper. The iPhone does blur out the background more aggressively, but clarity always comes first. Again, the main difference between the two images would be the white balance. The Note 8 turned those brown and dull falling leaves into literally golden autumn leaves, but people who prefer accuracy, the iPhone captured exactly what it was. And here we've got a few more sample images. Overall, the Note 8 gives significantly more dynamic and vibrant images, which is more pleasing especially when it comes to the bokeh mode, that we are not expecting the most accurate thing on earth at the very first place. The Note 8 also gives crisper images in low light, but under broad daylight, the iPhone can sometimes render the main object with marginally sharper details, but that's a really close comparison. Generally speaking, it's a matter of vibrancy versus accuracy, in terms of color reproduction. Move on to the more practical bit of the dual camera setup, optical zoom, or simply image quality on the telelens. Most of the time, under broad daylight, clarity on the iPhone is on a par with the Note 8, which is amazing. The main difference would be, again, the white balance. Our conclusion made previously on the wide-angle lens also applies to the tele lens. The iPhone gives more accurate colors and slightly wider dynamic range. The Note 8, however, gives images that really pop. Low light, however, is where the Note 8 truly shines. Optical image stabilization on the tele lens makes a day and night difference. The iPhone's still shooting on the tele lens in this kind of sunset lighting, but the lack of optical image stabilization resulted not necessarily blurry, but not the sharpest images out there. The Note 8 clearly nailed it. Again, all those details on the frames are razor sharp on Note 8's image. Even in harsh lighting conditions, the Note 8 still managed to zoom using the tele lens. Starting from this photo, the iPhone dialed back to digital zoom, cropping in from the wide-angle lens. The entire image taken with the Note 8 significantly sharper, especially those tiny light bulbs on the bottom left corner, on those bushes. Again, the Note 8 made it. Just wondering if the iPhone X can make a huge improvement over the iPhone 8 when it comes to photography on the tele lens in low light. Otherwise, we'll be getting the best tele lens on the Note 8. All the way until this kinda challenging night scenes, the Note 8 finally switched back to the standard lens. Clarity became identical. Now, low-light photography, the Note 8 once again edged out the iPhone 8, with higher brightness and more saturated colors. But Apple's done a really great job this year, yet the images are still not as bright as those taken with the Note 8, and colors are not as sharp. But the truth is, the iPhone 8 Plus is more than capable of capturing the actual environment and atmosphere. Even in this kind of extreme low-light scenes, the iPhone gave comparable clarity to the Note 8, with no visible digital noise. Again, colors are not as sharp, but some of you guys may prefer those flat and natural look on the iPhone's image. Still, in the end, the Note 8 gives brighter, clearer and sharper images in extreme low-light conditions. Another key element of a smartphone camera would be its video recording capability. Good news for the iPhone, it is the only smartphone that supports 4K 60 frames per second and 1080p 240 FPS recording right now. This is mental. The other good news for the iPhone is, not only does it give better color accuracy, but also way wider dynamic range compared to the Note 8. The green zone right in front of the riverfront is way brighter on the iPhone's footage, while the clouds on the background are also details-packed, with more pronounced colors and layers. However, if your style of videography involves a lot of zooming, the Note 8 simply suits you better. It switches between the two lenses smoother than the iPhone, and optical image stabilization on the tele lens also makes it a better choice for vlogging. Low-light videography on the Note 8 is also unmatchable. That colors are just as sharp as in daytime, with next to no digital noise at all. And finally, here we've come to the selfie shooter. Samsung's been offering some of the best selfie cameras for quite a while, and it continues to be the case. The field of view is way wider than the iPhone's. The slightly reddish white balance, sharper details, and also the brighter shadows make portrait photos a lot more engaging. At the end of the day, both cameras are top-notch. It depends on if you prefer color accuracy and perfect dynamic range on the iPhone, or sharper, brighter images on the Note 8, especially at night, and a simply more advanced dual camera system backed with optical image stabilization on both the lenses. So we've got some amazing optics on both the devices, but we'll need a proper display to complete the multimedia experience. The 5.5 inches 1080p 16:9 IPS display on the iPhone 8 Plus might be a bit old-fashioned, but I wouldn't say that. Sometimes classic and basic is great. With a 16:9 screen without a notch, media consumption would be flawless. Game and videos can be shown as they are framed, filmed or designed, with no potential compatibility issues. In contrast, the curved, nearly bezel-less Infinity Edge Super AMOLED display on the Note 8 makes video watching and gameplay experience even more immersive. While thanks to AMOLED technology, black is black, with crazy vivid colors, or the best color accuracy out there, depends on which color display mode you've selected. 1200 nits of brightness is also insane. But I know some people still prefer IPS display over OLED for some reasons. Here on the iPhone 8, it's got you covered. The dual speaker setup on the iPhone 8 though is mind-blowing. It gives clearer highs than last year's model, and also punchier bass and louder volume. It puts the Note 8 to shame with that single bottom firing speaker. Unfortunately, the iPhone lacks a 3.5mm jack, which seems to be disappearing sooner or later on the majority of smartphones. You're right, with the newly added wireless charging feature, we can finally listen to music while charging the phone, but for serious audiophiles, a proper headphone jack is a must. And last, but is certainly one of the most essential parts of your decision-making process, the battery life. Ridiculous enough, with such a massive body, Apple's only managed to squeeze a 2691 mAh battery in it. They claimed, as usual, the A11 Bionic chip together with a better-than-ever iOS 11 battery life would be impressive, and in fact it is, in some ways. According to our standard battery life test, after 1 hour of YouTube videos playback, Facebook scrolling and 1 hour of Clash Royale gameplay at 50% screen brightness, the battery life might not be the best out there, but it's certainly not bad at all. Especially if we take a look at the first two tests, only 17% of the battery was consumed after the YouTube and Facebook tests are combined. This is actually comparable to the Mate 9 Pro, with a massive 4000 mAh battery. Unfortunately, gaming kills the battery way faster than I thought it would, so if you game, you'll have to bring your power bank with you, or simply just stay at home. And just right before we draw the final verdict, they've finally added quick charging technology on the iPhone. But that's a big but. You will have to pay extra to get that dedicated but not included equipment. In a nutshell, there you have it. The iPhone 8 Plus versus the Note 8. The iPhone's got a boring design, but top-notch build quality. Go for the Note 8 if you really enjoy that flashy and futuristic design. But what makes the iPhone 8 Plus a great device are hidden under the hood. Processing power is insane on this guy. The camera is also one of the best, if not the best, as we've concluded previously in this video. With a 16:9 IPS display and dual speaker setup, it would be the comfort zone for many people out there who aren't ready for the notch on their new iPhones. With adequate battery life, the iPhone 8 might look and feel uninspiring, but in fact it works surprisingly well as a 4-year-old mature, well-optimized product. So hope you all enjoyed watching this video. Like it if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. There are also 2 more videos here on the left for you to watch next. See you next time, probably the iPhone 10. Stay tuned for that.